We like to think we can have an extraordinary life by making ordinary decisions, but it's not true. It's actually all the ordinary decisions, the safe ones, recommended by every expert, criticized by no one, that makes us incredibly vulnerable in times of chaos and crisis. It's worth remembering that most people die in bed. Getting up and getting active is much safer. It is risky to try to make the future in business. The strategist Peter Drucker has written, but it's riskier still not even to try. Because eventually it will happen. Someone will try. And then you will be on the wrong side of the outcome, or at the very least, behind the curve. And that's when you'll lose the initiative. Life is risky, as the poet Dylan Thomas said. Each day is always touch and go. No amount of corporate ass covering will ever change that. No amount of hiding will actually protect you from scary things. We are already fugitives from the law of averages. We are already marked for death from birth. When you realize this, you can stop being so precious, so concerned about every danger and every possible thing that can go wrong. Who cares? It's just a drop in the bucket. Another point on the risk assessment that is already off the charts as a mortal being. All certainty is uncertain. You're not safe. You never will be. No one is. In putting safety above everything, we actually put ourselves in danger of being forgotten, of never coming close, of being complicit. How will you handle the danger? What will happen to me? No one can tell you that. With the courage, you can say yourself, I'm not sure, but I will get through it with my soul intact. I will make the best of it. I will not be afraid. That is an excerpt from Courage is Calling by Ryan Holiday. He has a collection of books that are phenomenal. I highly recommend them to anybody. But just from the essence of that kind of covers what we're going to be getting into today. Tapping into awareness and breaking through fear and embracing risk. Fear and growth go hand in hand. There's this saying that I picked up from Bob Proctor a while ago, and it goes just like this, essentially. Faith and fear both require that you believe in something. And that stuck out to me so hard because I always recognized fear, but I never chose to have faith. And then even just going back, I can quote a book that's written 2,000 years ago, and it says, for the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline. 2 Timothy 1 verse 7. And this book was written 2,000 years ago. And just to top it one more time, what we are familiar with, we can manage. Danger can be mitigated by experiencing good training. Fear leads to aversion to cowardice, and repetition leads to confidence. Confidence leads to courage. Where right now in your life are you allowing fear to overcome and take a stronghold in your stake of position? You've been given a vision. You've been given this authority over top of everything inside of this world. You've been given dominion over all the things of the world. But yet you're letting the idea of something hold you back. Fear is paralyzing. It can stop you dead in your tracks. It will make you curl up on the couch and recede like a hermit crab, and then at the end of the day, leave you regretting the fact that you didn't take any action at all. Fear will keep you on the bleachers. Fear will keep you from starting the business, starting the company. Fear will keep you from trying. All from that. There's a cheesy saying that holds true, which is the only reason I like to repeat it, which is fear is false evidence appearing real. We've all heard it, especially if you've done personal development or self-development. And it's false evidence. We make up these ideas of what could go wrong, how things could go wrong, and we're forecasting for situations that have yet to take place. And what we're doing is we're living in a realm where we're out of touch with reality, right? When we're not present, when we're not in the now moment, we're surrendering our creative ability. We're surrendering our power in order to act. Again, faith and fear both require that you believe in something. And I'm not saying that it's easy. No, of course it's not easy. But the fact that it's not easy means that it's necessary, that it's worth it. There's so many times in life where I would feel this fear and I would label it just what it is, right? Of doubts, of my incapabilities, of worries, tomorrow's anxieties. I'd wrap it up with a little bit of depression just to add the cherry on top and beat myself up for days, weeks, months, and sometimes even years. And yeah, I can say I've done that. It's not a big deal. Not anymore. Not when I've realized that I was labeling fear wrong. See, fear is a landmark. It's a marker. Fear is an identifier where you come up to that, and when you start to notice that fear inside of your body, you're exploring the unknown. You're right on the verge of a breakthrough. You're right on the verge of your victory. Bob Proctor talks about fear. He calls it the terror barrier, right? Bob describes the terror barrier as an invisible wall that we face when we step into new, unfamiliar territory. It's when your old beliefs and your old way of thinking and your old actions come up to a new area, right? The world of the unknown. And on the other side of that terror barrier is your infinite potential. It's your victory. It's exploring the unknown. It's where your goal is, right? If you're after a goal, if you're working towards something, that's where your victory is. The closer we get to our goals, the more intense the fear becomes, making us want to turn back. And I can guarantee you that there's times in your life that you've already experienced where you've came up to that point where the terror barrier is, as Bob Proctor says. And the fear was so strong that you didn't allow yourself to venture into the unknown. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. And God spoke these things into existence. It was from nothing that everything was created. Think of how powerful that is. From the unknown, from nothing, no thing, all of this was created. And yet we turn and run away from that every single day. You wouldn't have a path in front of you if he hadn't already walked ahead of you. The fact that you've been called to that point in time, that to where maybe you're at right now, is proof that you're in the right place. Even though the signs may not look like it, if you take that step of faith, if you just walk out a little bit further, It's like that blind trust. It's going to be fine. Think about a time you took a major leap, whether it was starting a new job or whether it's committing to a goal, making a change in your life. You likely felt resistance, doubt, maybe even wanted to retreat. That's, as Bob says, the terror barrier. And crossing it is your key to growth. There's another mentor that I had and still have. His name's Tony Robbins. And Tony talks about fear in a different way. He's very pragmatic. And he says it in the sense of there's pain and there's pleasure, right? We both desire those things. It's the paradox. How can you have one without the other? You can't have an up without a down. You can't have a left without a right. And that's the same. You can't have pleasure without pain. Tony teaches that we're driven by the desire to avoid pain or experience pleasure. When it comes to fear, our minds focus on the pain or failure or discomfort, keeping us stuck in that comfort zone. But if we shift our focus to the pleasure of success and growth, we can use that as fuel to push forward. There's been countless times where I've seen the pain of a situation outweigh the pleasure, where I didn't tip the scale in my favor, right? We have this amazing gift, this ability of free will to think as we want to think, which is so powerful when you realize that this thinking thing, this thinking stuff that you have inside of you is a limitless potential waiting to be unlocked. But even earlier on, like maybe let's just use a simple example. There's been times where I saw a really cute girl. And look, now I'm married, so this is just an example. Babe, if you're hearing this, I promise this is just an example for this podcast. But yeah, there was times when I saw a really cute girl and I wanted to go talk to her, and I saw all the potential, like, oh yeah, I could definitely see myself going on a date with her. I could definitely see myself talking to her and holding her hand, you know what I'm saying? Maybe get a little bit of kissing action. But you know what? In that situation, in that time, that instance, what was more real? It was the pain of rejection, right? Rejection, that my old friend. Her telling me no, looking at me with that weird, what are you doing? Look, right? The fear of being laughed at by her friends that I don't even know existed, right? That's going back to that thing. We're making up all these situations and these ideas and events that will never take place that keep us stuck in our actual real life. We're spending more time in a situation of fictional place that doesn't exist than we are in our real life. So insane. So yeah, the pain of the situation far outweighed my need of having love, right? The love and acceptance of everyone else outweighed the love and acceptance of that person. And that's how pain and pleasure works, right? It's a scale. So it's also something that you don't have to lay victim to. It's something that you can take advantage of. The pain of failure might stop us from pursuing something new, but the pleasure of success can motivate us past that fear. Let's think of another example. Let's say you're afraid of public speaking. The pain of embarrassment or judgment might hold you back. But if you focus instead on the pleasure of connecting with people, sharing your message, bundling confidence, you'll find the courage to take the step. That's like you're too scared to go talk to the boss about a promotion that you know you deserve, right? The pleasure of having that new position is outweighed by the pain of being rejected, of being laughed at, of being mocked, of not having any more opportunities. So it's just better to play it safe so you don't do anything. However, let's tap into the superpower of these things. Because I don't want to just leave you at the side of a problem without bringing us a solution. Awareness. What are you doing with your body? When fear hits, we often reflect it in our body language. We're slumped over in our posture, we got tense shoulders, you got really shallow breathing, you're just barely taking a breath. I mean, honestly, at that point, you're just kind of like, have you ever sat there and like realized how shallow you're breathing and you're like, how am I even alive right now? You could probably qualify as like a military sniper with that type of breath work. But becoming aware of our body, we can make small changes that help us feel more confident and calm. Motion equals emotion, right? If you're not feeling very empowered, is there something that you could do to change that? All right, one more time. Motion equals emotion. If I said, hey, behind this door, let's just say we're on a game show, and I said, hey, behind this door, I have a person. And if you can guess what they look like, tell me exactly what they look like, I'll give you this $1 million prize. And I said, I want you to tell me what this depressed person looks like. So you start labeling it. They're not really smiling. They're kind of have their head down. Their eyes are kind of just fixed on the ground. They're kind of breathing shallow. Their posture's really bad. Their shoulders are rolled forward. Probably have their hands in their pockets. They definitely don't talk with enthusiasm. They definitely aren't laughing. And when they talk, they're kind of just like, yeah, I guess it's doing what I can. They got a super monotone voice. See, what you're describing are all the physical traits, physical characteristics that a person that's depressed, holding something in, depression, is having. And look, people have actual imbalances inside of their body and chemical disorders, so just hear me out. But a lot of this can be changed. You know, if you weren't born that way, if you haven't been that way your entire life, then if you can name exactly how a person is just off of their body traits, their body characteristics, how they carry themselves, then if I had to ask you, what would a super joyous person look like? Like, oh, they'd be laughing, smiling, have their shoulders back, their head held high, they talk with confidence, and you can start to literally pinpoint what this person is and what the type of characteristics they have. So again, past this, let's briefly go back and touch on fear, right? If you have fear over a situation, how are you carrying yourself? Notice it in your body, right? When you're approaching a hard situation, like how are you approaching it? Are you approaching it timid? Are you already having and carrying yourselves as if you're not going to succeed, as if you are scared? I encourage you to check your posture when you feel fear or doubt. Simple shifts like standing tall, breathing deeply, moving with purpose can transform how you feel. Here's an exercise you can do. Next time you feel nervous or unsure, I'm sure, like, hey, maybe that's you. Maybe you've experienced that before. You're not some unicorn. You might kind of have this pop up in your life. Here's something you can do. Next time you feel nervous or unsure, notice your posture. Lift your shoulders up. Take a deep breath. Notice how this change affects your confidence. And guess what? If you've never done it before, don't get mad if it doesn't work right away. Do it again. Do it again. I've told this story countless times before. There's this time in my life, earlier in life, I was always like this smiling, laughing, genuinely happy, kid. Now, granted, some of that was like this people pleasing side of myself, but the other side of it was just my personality type. It's just who I was. And then after life kind of handed me a shit hand for years on end, I found myself not so much that joyous, happy, laughing, caring individual. And one day I looked at myself in the mirror. I was like, this is not who I am. This is not who I want to be. This is not who I was designed to be. And I noticed I was just always had this like solemn look on my face. Like I was just kind of frowning. I just didn't have energy for anything. And I just decided to change it. I heard this thing. And like I said, I think I mentioned it in one of the like first episode maybe. But it was like, if you just smile in the mirror, you're going to eventually make yourself laugh. And you're going to be the type of person who smiles. And I held that habit as long as I needed to until eventually, even to today, I still reap the benefits of that simple trick. Smile in the mirror for 2 minutes. Smile in the mirror until you're actually smiling. Because what I noticed is I'd be so serious and I'd look in the mirror, I'd start smiling in the mirror. And then all of a sudden I'd start laughing and I'd just crack myself up because like, dude, what are you doing, you freaking goofball? Right? But next thing I know, here I am 5 years later, 6 years later down the road. And I get told all the time, like, Connor, you're always smiling. Why are you so happy this morning? Well, what's gotten into you? What are you smiling at? What are you laughing at? It's just who I am now. It doesn't even matter. And the crazy thing is because I bring that to the environment must yield to me, right? The environment must yield to the greater force at hand. It doesn't matter if someone is in a super negative or super bad mood. One, I can either avoid them and walk away. Or two, they eventually just look at me and I'm like, oh, you know what, man? Like, I appreciate you talking to me this morning. I appreciate you smiling. I appreciate you making me laugh. You're always so light. I thank you. Just the environment must yield to that. So next time you're in that situation, just give yourself enough time, right? Pull your shoulders back, take a deep breath, and notice how that change feels in your body. Second thing, right? Focus. What are you focusing on or believing? Right? Because focus, in a sense, is what you're giving power into a belief. If I focus on the positive, if I focus on the negative, if I focus on fear, or if I focus on the good things on fear, if I focus on pain, or if I focus on pleasure, it's all about what I'm focusing on. What we focus on expands. When you focus on the risk, the obstacles, or potential failure, that's what you're going to experience. But if you shift your focus to what you want to gain, your energy shifts towards the possibilities. Excuse me. But if you shift your focus to what you want to gain, not what you want to lose, not what could go wrong, not stuff that's could potentially happen in some alternate dimension 6 years down the road, talking about now, okay? But if you shift your focus on what you want to gain, your energy is going to shift towards the possibilities. There's the actual science behind it called your reticular activating system. How to pull that one out of the memory bank. Your reticular activating system, or your RAS. Ed Milet speaks on this quite frequently as well. And I mean, he didn't come up with it, but anyhow, I'm digressing. If it's basically this, say you spot a red G-Wagon and you notice the red G-Wagon and you want a red G-Wagon, and then all of a sudden you're driving down the road and then all you can spot are, guess what, red G-Wagons. Say you're looking for a yellow car, right? And you're playing the Skittles or Punch Bug, however you label that game. I know my arm is still sore from playing that, but next thing you know, you're noticing every yellow car, even if it's not even yellow, it's like just worn out from the sun. And you're labeling it yellow, right? Your brain is being programmed to look for those yellow cars, but it's the same thing with our life. If you can shift your focus to what you want to gain, your energy is going to shift with it. Your focus is going to shift with it. The pleasure of growth or success over fear, the pain of failure, can make a huge difference in the actions that you're taking. And those things all are accompanied by the inner dialogue that you have, right? Not only are you choosing to focus on something else, right? You've gotten your body in check, motion equals emotion. You've gotten what you're focusing on, but what are you saying to yourself? Our inner dialogue can either encourage or discourage us. If we tell ourselves that we're not capable, that fear is too big, we reinforce that fear. But when we take time to replace that talk with positive, empowering language, we break down that terror barrier one thought at a time. I encourage you to replace your negative self-talk with statements that build confidence, like, I am capable, I can learn, I am growing through this. I am letting go of these problems and releasing them to God or the universe. I relinquish the fact that I have to control everything and that everything will work out exactly how it needs to. I am the person that every step that I take is bringing me closer to my destiny. You know, it's all in our inner dialogue, and not so much as just I am statements, but also in the sense of how you're painting the picture of your current situation. Like I said, if I'm just making this thing out to be the worst thing on earth, then there's no way that I'm leaving any room for growth or possibilities to enter the room, because I've now put my hand in control of the situation. How can I let infinite possibilities rush into my life and through me if all I'm doing is I'm stuck in an alternate dimension where I'm painting the picture of the worst things in the world, the worst case scenarios? This life that I don't want, but I'm so addicted to the pain that it's giving me that I can't stop painting the freaking picture. Catch yourself in saying these things and painting the picture, right? When you start to paint that negative picture of everything that could go wrong, catch yourself, notice it, spot, identify, and change. Spot the problem, identify the problem for what it is, and then make the change. Okay? Condition that into yourself. Spot, identify, change. Spot, identify, change. If you catch yourself saying, I can't do this, pause, take a deep breath, and say, I'm learning and I'm willing to try. It's simple shifts in your language, in your focus, and how you carry yourself that are going to take you to the next level of life. Today, I challenge you. I challenge you to tap into your own awareness. Take 5 to 10 minutes to ask yourself, what is my body doing? What am I focusing on? What am I saying to myself? Choose one of these areas, not all of them. Choose one of these areas to adjust, whether it's standing taller, focusing on the positive outcome, or speaking kindly to yourself. No one's going to come along and be nice to you. No one's going to come along and speak kind to you unless you run into me in public. Right? But the odds of that, probably slim to none. But try speaking kindly to yourself. Try this throughout the day. See how it impacts, the responses that you have to fear or to challenges. Don't let this thing called fear run your life. So, to recap everything that we talked about today, we explored how fear and risk are essential for our growth, right? When we come up to these things, we're spotting, we're identifying, and we're changing. Whether it's our body or it's our posture or how we're labeling the situation, okay, that one could be even more importante, even more important, where you start to change it from this is fear and this is a risk to this is opportunity and I'm exploring the unknown. I'm willing to give myself the opportunity to have the infinite potential, course through my body, however you're labeling it, okay? That they're essential, the terror barrier or the pain and pleasure principle that Tony talks about, along with the importance and awareness of our body, the focus and our self-talk and breaking through the fear. Remember, awareness is the first step to change. By paying attention to your body, focus, and inner dialogue, you gain control over your responses and make fear work for you instead of against you. Breaking through the terror barrier starts with small conscious shifts. You have that thing called free will, so freaking use it. Don't let things run your life. Don't let labels run your life. You run your life. You start to make those things work for you. You don't work for them. Now, as always, I give you a teaser for tomorrow's episode, but I don't know what it is yet, so we will cross that bridge when we get there. However, I hope you've been enjoying these as much as I've been enjoying making them. Today was kind of relaxed, a little bit slower pace. I'm feeling pretty chill. I've been going through a 5-hour online seminar, which has been so good. And yeah, I just wanted to sit down and record this and have more of an intimate conversation with you. And I really want to read through this chapter one more time to you, okay? Just in case. I'll leave you with the same energy that we started with. We like to think we can have an extraordinary life by making ordinary decisions, but it's not true. It's actually all the ordinary decisions, the safe ones, recommended by every expert, criticized by no one, that make us incredibly vulnerable in times of chaos and crisis. It's worth remembering that most people die in bed. Getting up and getting active is much safer. It is risky to try to make the future in business. The strategist Peter Drucker has written, but it's riskier still not even to try. Because eventually it will happen. Someone will try. And then you will be on the wrong side of the outcome. Or at the very least, behind the curve. And that's when you'll lose the initiative. Life is risky, as the poet Dylan Thomas said. Each day is always touch and go. No amount of corporate ass covering will ever change that. No amount of hiding will actually protect you from scary things. We are already fugitives from the law of averages. We are already marked for death from birth. When you realize this, you can stop being so precious, so concerned about every danger and every possible thing that can go wrong. Who cares? It's just a drop in the bucket. Another point in the risk assessment that is already off the charts is a mortal being. All certainty is uncertain. You're not safe. You never will be. No one is. In putting safety above everything, we actually put ourselves in danger. In danger of being forgotten, of never coming close, of being complicit. How will you handle danger? What will happen to me? No one can tell you that. But with courage, you can say yourself, I'm not sure, but I will get through it with my soul intact. I will make the best of it. I will not be afraid. Thank you for tuning into today's episode. I appreciate you greatly. And as always, peace.